news broke that an Iranian made drone was used by an Iranian proxy. Let's be honest, that proxy is controlled by Iran. It's Hezbollah in Syria that targeted a U.S. Troops as well as U.S. contractors. A U.S. contractor has been killed. At least 3 U.S. troops have been injured by that drone attack. Then the U.S. responded by an attack on that affiliate of Iran, as they're going to say, on a Hezbollah base. That killed 8 Hezbollah fighters, I think, killed 8 Hezbollah fighters. Then they responded again, another attack on our base in Syria. No casualties reported from that attack. The big question now is what happens next. So the U.S. has not responded to that attack yet.
No, that's right. So, but you've got an ongoing conflict. All right, let's get Ric Grenell in. Ric, of course, was U.S. ambassador to Germany, obviously a significant role there, but also the director of national intelligence. Ric, first of all, your reaction to this move by the Iranians. The thing that concerns me in this, Ric, is we had a lot of progress under your administration, especially under the Abraham Accords. And it looked like Saudi Arabia was, although they didn't formally join the Accords, they were in line to. And now it looks like they're realigning a little bit with Iran because of Russia's brokerage here. But what is your assessment of the situation with this Iranian-backed, at least, or a drone attack on a U.S. base, and we lost an American?
Well, look, it's clear that this appeasement strategy from the Biden administration is not working. We've seen an increase of attacks. You can't look at the facts and not see that there has been Iranian and Iranian-backed groups attacks, an increase in attacks since Joe Biden took office. Remember that one of the first things they tried to do was to immediately engage the Iranians. There was talk about paying them to come back to the table, giving away as much as they could just to get the Iranians back to negotiations. And that whole idea was pay them, keep them close, because then we might be able to monitor their nuclear weapons programs. What the Trump administration policy is to galvanize the world to sanction and isolate Iran. That was working. It should have been a policy that was kept in place. But instead, you had Joe Biden, who literally took the Houthis off the terrorist list. And within just weeks, the Houthis were bombing and sending missiles into the UAE. These bad policies, these weak policies, have consequences.
You know, Ric, what I think people are going to be surprised about, and it's just because it really just hasn't gotten much news coverage. Obviously, this base wasn't secret. We showed the image of it to folks. I mean, it's a pretty serious-sized base, got a U.S. flag flying. But to our audience, that we are still that engaged in Syria. And you know, we were explaining earlier that we want to make sure that ISIS does not come back on the rise. But the issue here is that is this the potential for a new escalation in what is a very complicated, ongoing civil war?
Yes, the answer is yes. And the other success that Donald Trump had in Syria, and the reason why ISIS was destroyed, the reason why we really calmed that situation down from when Biden, the Obama-Biden team had inflamed it, is because Russia is absolutely in control in Syria. And we need to be very clear about that. The Russian relationships with the Iranians and the Chinese right now is a growing relationship. This is a game of high-stakes chess. And the reality is that you have to be talking to the Russians if you want to keep the Islamic State from rising inside Syria. The Russians are very good at controlling the Iranians when they want to be. I'm not suggesting that the Russians are total strategy, but if you're going to talk about calming the situation down in Syria so that we can better control terrorism, you've got to have discussions with the Russians. The Russians want certain things out of Syria. They want the ports, they want oil. There should be a negotiation to keep peace or greater peace in Syria. This is just the reality, and Donald Trump did a fantastic job of it.
The thing that I'm concerned with, one is one of many. I wrote a book, this was probably 5 years ago now, called Unholy Alliance, and it was really focused on Russia, Iran, and Syria, and the whole jihadi threat. And then during your time in office, we saw that the relationship with Russia, our relationship with Russia, improved significantly, which then brought about the stability in the region. Israel's relationship with Russia was in much better shape. You had the Gulf states joining the Abraham Accords. Iran, as you said, was being isolated. And then the first thing that the Obama, it is a continuation, the Biden administration did was try to get back into the JCPOA, which, of course, is the Iranian nuclear deal. And it's not happened because the Iranians aren't going to do it. But the people are saying that the Iranians are on the threshold. I don't want you to divulge anything, but you were the director of national intelligence. Do you believe that Iran is close to capability of a nuclear weapon, and would they use it if they had it?
Yeah, I think the answer is yes and yes. And the reality is that we can't trust the Iranian regime. They lie. They've lied from the very beginning about the number of centrifuges that they told John Kerry that they had. They've lied about the heavy water production that they have done. They've been caught. They scrub sites. There's one thing to remember is that the UN's IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, they are scientists. They don't carry guns. They don't go into rooms or go into places where they are not automatically welcomed in by the Iranians. The Security Council of the UN is designed to be there when the IAEA wants to go check out a site and the Iranian regime says no. That then bubbles up to the Security Council, and the Security Council is supposed to be the one that says, okay, let them in or we'll write a bad report on you. There are not good consequences for the Iranian regime to deny the international community, the UN, from getting what it needs to issue a report that says that they're not seeking a nuclear weapon. So the short answer is we don't know exactly because we're not getting very good information.
We have phone calls coming in about this situation where a U.S. contractor has been killed by an Iranian drone. 3 U.S. troops have been injured. This is in Syria. Lynn in Washington State on line 1. Hey, Lynn.
Hi. I was wondering, have we heard anything at all from President Joe Biden regarding this incident? It's late in the day already where you guys are. Washington is open. Has President Biden said anything to the people?
Well, of course, we responded by military attack, so that's one thing. Remember, we there was a response. We killed 9 Hezbollah fighters, and then they responded. No casualties again on the U.S. side, so we don't know if there will be a next response yet. There's also been there's a written statement out from Secretary Austin, but John Kirby did make this statement.
He had a discussion with his national security team on the way up here to Ottawa in the wake of the drone strike on our base in Syria, and received recommendations from Defense Department leaders and the intelligence community about what response options could look like. He made the decision very, very shortly in that discussion to authorize these strikes against these particular targets.
And then, Rick, they struck back. Okay, so let me ask you this. What should be the next move here for the United States if Ric Grenell was calling the shot here?
So remember, I'm a diplomat. I'm a long-term diplomat. And what I would just say here is we now have an American contractor that has been killed in Syria simply because the United States government is not able to talk to Russia about what's happening in Syria. We're not able to talk about Russia because of the Ukraine war, because of this chaos. We literally have a diplomatic breakdown. It's now causing Americans to be killed. It is going to get worse. I would be all for having strikes to retaliate if on the way to strikes you were having diplomatic conversations and somehow you weren't making progress. But by Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken's own admission, Jay, they have not spoken with their Russian counterparts until very recently. Over a year, there was no talk, and that's why Syria has delved into chaos.
You know, Rick, we appreciate your insight, your analysis. And again, this is an ongoing situation, but a wake-up call for the American people.